Okay, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're just looking at this kind of organic fungal growth. It was something, let me turn this material, that's NQ by the way. Yeah, it was something I was just playing with and I thought the effect was pretty cool. Let's just render here. You can use this kind of technique for all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be growing on wood, but I think it's quite a useful technique. So let's start a new scene. I'm just pasting this wood here for scale. One thing you got to, let's try a new bit of wood. These are just the models that come with Cinema or Max on 1. I'm not sure if it's Max on 1 or in the normal Cinema. Okay, so one thing you always got to remember when you're using simulations is the scale of the scene. If something's too small, it just doesn't work very well. I made this very big because I was having a lot of issues with some weird things happening. Let's get rid of this figure and let's just turn off materials for now. Okay, so here's our scene. Now let me just check the simulation settings as well. Gravity will be off. I found if you put the time scale down, it really helps get less weird things happening. So let me, okay, so let me just make sure that these are the same. I wonder if you could copy everything. No. 35, 20, 100. Damping had to go really high because all sorts of crazy stuff happens when you try and turn small polygons of an object into soft bodies. Okay, and then collision radius 10, scene scale 5. I can't even remember if these changed anything. You can play around. And then these I always put up to 4 and 6 whenever I'm doing cloths. And okay. You can play around with all those settings, but those are the ones that I found worked. So what we're going to do is basically drive the simulation with a vertex map. We're going to use fields. We're going to get rid of that freeze. Let's start with a spherical field. And let's just put it, we start pretty small. Then we are going to make a freeze. And we're going to set this to grow. Now, depending on your scene scale and the scale of your objects, you're going to have to play around with these settings. So let's just see. Right, and one thing we forgot here is to turn the scene to 0.5. Okay, and trying to remember how I slowed this down. Is it this? Slow it it down a bit more. Try 25. Okay, let's stick with that. That's up to you to customize. Okay, so that is about that. You know, what you can do is, if you don't want such a smooth edge, is put a random field in there and overlay it so you get a different edge here. Well, let's do that. Okay, now we've got a bit more of an organic growth. It's a little bit sharp, but let's address that later. Okay, so we are going to use a Softbody. Let's turn off draw mode. We're going to make it very soft, and we are going to use, I'm going to drive that with the Vertex map. We are going to balloon. Now this you've got to keep very low. Let me just check what 90 frames. Okay, we're going to make it very bendy, nice and stretchy. I think we can turn down the thickness a bit. And then on the balloon, we're also going to drive that with the Vertex map, and we are going to pin with the map. And I'm not sure if this is necessary, but I'm going to do that as well. Let's see what happens. Crazy stuff. Okay, let's turn this off for now. I find the smaller you keep, the smaller the areas are, the crazier the pixels go. Ugh, not pixels, polygons. Okay, that's better. Let's just go off the map. Okay. So I don't think we actually need that random map because it's pretty random already. I think if you had a really big object with a denser mesh, then it would work better to have that detail. You could remesh this, but then you're going to lose your UVs. So let's also put some smoothing on this. No, it's on. We don't need displacement for now. Okay. So that's basically the effect. Now you can, I think what I did in the other one was, no, I actually put a studio. And collider. See how that goes. Get this really nice folding effect at the bottom, which I think looks really cool. Okay, and then for the material, let's get rid of that. All you need to do is grab a blender, material blender. I can never remember the order, but that should be the base color. And then we're going to grab a Vertex tribute. That's going to be the blend color, and we're going to grab our Vertex map. And let's just grab let's grab something fun, maybe a fabric. Wow, okay. I'm going to leave off the displacement. You can obviously do a displacement blend, but I will save you the pain of sitting through that. And then we connect this to the second layer, and let's turn on triplanar. These polygons are being stretched, so you do get some weird stuff happening with materials that have PBR textures like this one. Let me show you what I mean. Oh, we also need some light in the scene. Let's just grab an HDRI for speed purposes. Okay, so that is way too small. Okay, so that might not be the best material to use on something like this. I just wanted to see what it would look like. Maybe we can use something like yeah, let's try. That's also got textures on. I'm going to get something a bit like planar. There you go. Let's just use this wax. Obviously you can build your own, but this is not a tutorial on building materials. That's quite cool. Let's just turn the roughness up a bit. And maybe scale down a bit. For my one, I actually ended up using, I think it was one of these metals. I was just playing around and I put this one on and it reminded me of those like orange mushroom kind of, those sort of sideways mushroom things that grow out of tree trunks. I don't know what they're called. Let's try something with some curvature and see what happens. What might be easier is just to copy Get rid of that. And let's just copy this into this giant well. And we put that into the material layer. And let's replace that material. That is quite a complicated material. Why is that happening? Right. I think that's pretty lame. Let's go back to our wood and find something. What about something transparent? Honey? Let's see how this looks. I think the depth is... That's kind of cool. Put the roughness up a bit. There's an aberration in... I think we can just bring this down a bit. Anyway, you can play around and light things properly. I mean, this is just quite cool though. Bulbous honey growths on a log. So yeah, that's basically it. You can do all sorts of things with the Vertex map. You don't have to use the grow. It does help it keep it smooth if it's something that's getting bigger. If you, for instance, let's just say you only had that, it's probably going to go crazy. Watch. Yeah. And then it crashes. I'm not sure why. I did try a few things where I wanted just one to pop up and then another one further down. But I think the best way to do that would be to morph between modeled objects, if you wanted to do that, and not with cloth sim or Softbody sim. Yeah, so that is creating organic growth with Vertex maps and Cinema 4D Softbody simulations. I hope you found it interesting and inspires you to create something. Thank you.